Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Okay, today I want to talk about the upcoming movie that we're going to be getting from Sean Levy. We do know it is the next Star Wars movie that's coming post Mandalorian and Grogu, according to the interview they did on Deadline with Kathleen Kennedy. But there's additional informational pieces that have come out, and I want to talk about some of those.
Okay.
So, reportedly, the film will feature a Jedi Padawan character.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Of Rey's, I'm assuming?
I don't know. That's the trick of it. Remember, Levy doesn't necessarily want to use characters that exist.
Okay. Well, there's a problem. There was this movie called The Last Jedi, where Rey was
Yes, but depending on how far after...
It's supposed to be like 5 years after Rise of Skywalker, I thought we heard.
Or more, maybe. But yeah, so he's moving forward. They cast Ryan Gosling in the lead role in January.
Is that official?
Yeah. He was cast. We got Ryan Gosling.
Okay.
But there are some new rumors now relating to the project. Apparently the movie is set to have a significantly smaller budget than previous Disney-era films, and it's supposed to be a more contained story.
Okay.
Contained story makes sense. This is a one-of.
Sure. But I think the problem there is people want to go to a Star Wars movie that is not a small-scale story. They want big stories on the big screen.
Right, because you can get really great small-screen stories from 100 different streaming services right now.
Well, yeah, if you're looking beyond Star Wars,
I'm going to spend that money and go to the theater, I do want something epic.
Yeah, you want something a little more than you're going to see on your screen at home.
So the smaller budget worries me. The contained story does not. Contained stories sometimes, I feel like, lead to a better project.
No, I can agree with that. I don't think everything needs to be perfectly connected all the time. I think sometimes it's good. Sometimes you just want to have a standalone movie or a standalone story.
Well, even looking at Skeleton Crew, right now, it's a contained story. Yeah. There's a beginning, a middle, of an end, and it's not a huge entire universe engulfing story. It focuses on a small group of characters and what they do. And I liked that about Skeleton Crew. There's also speculation with these rumors that it's going to be a contained story and Ryan Gosling being the lead, that Gosling's unnamed lead character will be accompanied by a younger character who is a Jedi Padawan.
And he must be a Jedi?
Or just someone who's accompanied by one, for reasons.
Well, a Padawan implies a master.
It does.
You're not just a Padawan
it
on your own. It almost
leads to the assumption that whatever Jedi Ryan Gosling is playing was somebody who was trained at Rey's Jedi school.
For 5 years? I mean, maybe she gives the Rey training, which is very
Speed
brief
training.
And quick, and you
maybe
do it like
she
a
just
day.
Downloads the books into their mind.
I was just going to say, she's just going to download all her training now.
Yes.
It's the new way.
But they could be someone at the school. They could be someone who kind of crawls out of the woodwork. Maybe they had run across Luke in his later years, or
before he
before he went all Hermit
before the
style.
incident. Yeah.
The incident.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
originally people were saying that they thought that because Ryan Gosling was going to have a Jedi Padawan with him, they thought this was going to take place in a more Jedi active era, but Kathleen Kennedy said it's going to be a post-Rise of Skywalker story.
Yep. I thought she said like 5-6 years after, too. So
I thought she said like 5 to 9.
Well, I mean,
literally all they have to do is put
a
a number and it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. I don't know.
But what is... I don't know. Okay.
It's all a matter of where was this person in the universe, I suppose. Was he someone hiding somewhere in the galaxy that we didn't possibly see before?
What was he?
Maybe he's connected to the Ahsoka movie and there's a bunch of Jedi that are going to come from, Perdia and...
Sure.
They'll come riding back on Purgle.
God, you're making
the Sith are gone, and here they come riding through on the Purgle. It's going to be great.
I don't know, it just feels weird to have this one-off story 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker, 5 years after the Jedi were on the brink of extinction again, and no, actually, he was just kind of off hiding, doing his own thing.
That's what they all did.
And he's got a Padawan now. It's fine. All these big stories that we always tell, there's no ramifications afterwards. Everything just goes back to normal, or there's another war. Which, there's always going to be another war, another conflict, but...
It is Star Wars, yes.
Well, sure, but you have the original trilogy, and then we're left to assume Luke is going to have to build the Order from the ground up. It's going to be this big, epic thing, and he's going to succeed, and the Jedi are going to carry on. But it's like, nah, actually, there was a First Order, and he failed, and now Rey's going to have to build up a new Jedi. Nah, actually, there were some other Jedi, and they had Padawans. It's all fine.
It's fine. Don't think about it too hard. It's fine. We know that Levy has been working on developing the script with Jonathan Troper, who did This Is Where I Leave You and The Adam Project, and that they've been working on this since 2022.
Wow, they've been
Yes.
writing forever.
It's also set to produce via 21 Laps, along with Kathleen Kennedy, because she is one of the producers on this.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, and this is, again, rumor, apparently Disney views Levy as a must-have, must-keep director.
Must
So-
keep, are they going to lock him in the basement?
Well, I'm just saying, if that is true, that means he might have significant creative control over the project.
Well, I mean, the writer has a lot to... I mean, he's writing
he's writing it too,
but I
yeah.
mean, I guess if he's doing the whole package, you kind of want to let him do his thing, and hopefully it's good.
I mean, right now, tentatively, this is scheduled to start filming in the UK later this year.
Okay, so 2027 release, probably?
I mean, last year, Levy did an interview. They asked him what he hopes to bring to the table for Star Wars. He says, there's only so many times that Star Wars movies can revisit the same section of the timeline, and so it's really forced me because I don't want to do a Star Wars movie that is redundant to others, nor am I interested in doing one that has to serve another movie. I really want to craft something that felt organic to me, both in tone and characters, so I think there is certainly the Force and a connection to something bigger than our individual selves, and the way that can make us powerful. Those themes combined with visual delight and wish fulfillment, that's Star Wars to me.
How do you make a movie 5 to 10 years after the rise of Skywalker?
I think the timeline might be an issue, yeah.
Like, how do you make that like its own independent story about Jedi? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that his story is going to be
Right.
bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, how do you do an independent story when the Jedi were, again, on the verge of extinction? We were down to the
Right.
last one. We had Palpatine coming back. He was all the Sith. He's going to take over the galaxy with Death Star destroyers and the Final Order. The whole galaxy has to come together. And like 5 years later, there's just this independent story of a Jedi and a Padawan? Like, what?
Or it doesn't make sense without the
No.
Rey movie coming first. Because
It
or else it's
has
going to
to.
be awkward, because or else we'll get this movie that's like, if you wanted explanations for me, there's a little bit of it in the Rey movie that you haven't seen.
Yeah, either they're off in a totally different part of the galaxy or another galaxy doing their own thing entirely, where it's kind of like, oh, so there's just other Jedi out there at the same time. So it really, again, wasn't that big of a deal.
It makes more sense to be set in the past than to
Yeah,
be setting
like-
it in the future.
Yeah, why would you set a story like this 5 years after the rise of Skywalker? That does not make any sense. It'd be like going back to Luke and Return of the Jedi, and 5 years after Yoda, like, the last of the Jedi, will you be? It's like, no, actually, there's a ton of
There's
other
a
ones out
bunch,
there that are
yeah.
doing it. Which, in theory, could be true. We've seen plenty survive Order 66
Right.
and the Boken Jedi and all that. But you want to have a little drama there and say, yeah, that really was the verge of extinction for the Jedi. And so was the Rey movie or what happened in the sequel trilogy. But it's like, nah, not really.
No, not really at all. Like I said, without having the Rey movie first, it's going to feel awkward to have a Jedi all of a sudden and a Padawan crop out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense.
Unless it's some sort of story where he's not a Jedi,
Well, then
but
how do you have a Padawan?
they could be describing a Force-sensitive child as a Padawan. Like, what if he just finds Broom Boy and he's like, what do I do with this kid who clearly has powers?
Make him a Jedi.
I don't know. I'm
He's
just
got
saying.
experience.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, what if he's not a Jedi with a Padawan?
Okay.
What if they're using the generic term of, it's a Padawan to describe maybe somebody who comes across or his child turns out to be Force-sensitive and he doesn't know what to do.
Okay, I don't disagree that's a possibility, but then you are still being affected by the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
You're still trying to say, I'm making an independent story, but actually it's not so independent because I have to construe myself or constrain
Right.
myself to what that other movie did because it doesn't make sense that there's a Jedi.
It's supposed to be very self-contained, which is hard to
Yeah.
do when you're putting a Jedi in it.
That's
that
what I'm
time
saying.
period.
You've had a galactic scale event. Literally, the whole galaxy gets together to stop Palpatine. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do like a self-contained story 5 years later. Again, I'm not saying I think the movie's going to be bad or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's just it's a weird thing to say that I'm doing this self-contained story 5 years later.
Right. Like I said, without that piece, without the Rey movie coming first, or maybe even Simon Kinberg's next trilogy, it's hard to place it.
I mean, the only thing that makes sense is there was a Padawan of Luke's who's older now because obviously Luke would have ditched him. And Ryan Gosling has to somehow save him and bring him to Rey or something silly like that.
Something.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But to say your movie will not be in any way like connected to the sequel trilogy is just kind of, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to say.
Yeah. All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Take it to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news or the rambling that went with it. What do you think of a movie 5 years after the rise of Skywalker that is independent of all that and involves Jedi. Whatever the case may be, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars, and until next time, thanks for watching.